Organizers say more than 7 million people gathered at nearly 3,000 events across the country over the weekend for No Kings rallies in a largely peaceful show of force against the Trump administration's policies. That's 2 million more people than the first No Kings Day back in June. Protesters flooded streets, squares, and parks in both big cities and small towns, chanting "No Kings in America" and carrying signs with slogans like "Democracy, not monarchy" and "Make America Good Again."
Here's the problem. Millions of Americans are being called traitors for doing the most American thing possible. Protesting. October 18th. Thousands of protests. Every single state. People saying no, unchecked power. And somehow that's controversial. You've got folks quoting the founders, defending democracy, exercising their First Amendment rights. And then you've got another crowd wrapped in flags, screaming about freedom, calling them Marxists, idiots, paid actors. The irony is suffocating. These are the same people who lecture everyone about liberty while mocking citizens for literally using it. Patriotism apparently only counts when you sit down and shut up. But here's what's really happening. They're scared. Not of protest itself, of what it represents. Accountability. Pushback. People refusing to comply. So today, we're breaking down this circus. The defenders of democracy, the confused questioners, and the crowd that desperately needs a civics lesson. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's get into it.
The largest protest in American history might be happening tomorrow. Tomorrow on October 18th is the official second coming of the No Kings protest, following up the first No Kings protest back in June. There are more than 2,600 protests scheduled right now, with experts saying there may be even more. And as you can see, there are protests scheduled in every single state in America. Now, the original No Kings protest from June made it the third largest protest in American history, behind the Earth Day protests of 1970 and the George Floyd protest back in 2020. There's expected to be a ton of federal ICE agents at these protests, and nobody really knows how these might go.
Folks, those same people that are organizing this No Kings protest this weekend, it's supposed to be one of the biggest days of protest in American history, or at least since the 1970s, for Earth Day is what I've heard. But the same people that are organizing this protest are the same people that bowed to Fauci and bowed to Biden when they told him, you better take this shot or you're not going to be able to leave your house.
Classic deflection. Trying to discredit millions of protesters by bringing up COVID mandates from 3 years ago. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. You can disagree with vaccine policies and still defend democracy. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Humans contain multitudes. Revolutionary concept, I know. But watch what happens when people run out of real arguments. They dig through your history looking for anything that might discredit you. Oh, you complied with public health measures once. Then you can't complain about executive overreach now. That's not logic. That's deflection dressed up as a gotcha. And here's what's really being communicated. You did something I didn't like once. Therefore, you've forfeited your right to have an opinion forever. That's not how citizenship works. That's not how rights work. That's not how anything works. Your First Amendment doesn't expire because you made a health decision someone disagreed with. You don't lose the right to protest because you weren't perfect in every political moment of your life. People are allowed to be inconsistent, to learn, to show up for different causes at different times. That's called being human. Gatekeeping protest based on someone's pandemic choices? That's called being desperate.
So,
South Florida, this Saturday, October 18th, No Kings protests are happening all across the country, including here in Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties. Check out this map for the protests nearest you. Our campaign will be at the Coral Springs protest. Come see us, get a t-shirt. We need volunteers. We're getting ready to go door to door, canvassing, speaking to voters one-on-one about what they need to see from our politicians in this day and age to stand up to this Trump administration, but also to stand up to the corrupt interests that are in control of both parties. I'm running against Jared Moskowitz in South Florida's 23rd Congressional District. My name is Oliver Larkin. I'm running in the Democratic primary. I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. I'm running for Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, a $25 minimum wage, free college, free childcare, paid family and medical leave. I'll see you this Saturday, and it's just the start. We are getting ready to go, not just for the primary, but for the general election. We are going to win this race with your support. We need volunteers. Come see us this Saturday or protest wherever you are. We all must stand up.
So Speaker Mike Johnson is, of course, calling this upcoming No Kings Day protest a Hate America rally. And we'll see the Marxists just in full display. People who don't want to defend the foundational truths of this republic. You know what's wild? Standing up is defending the foundational truths of this country. Protesting is patriotism. Because this nation was literally born out of protest. We dumped tea in a harbor. We said no one person should have unchecked power over millions of lives. That's not Marxism. That is America 101.
Finally, someone who actually read a history book. This country was literally founded on protest against unchecked power. The entire Constitution exists because people said we're not doing the king thing anymore. Checks and balances, separation of powers, limited government. It's not radical theory, it's the actual blueprint. But here's the authoritarian playbook. Reframe dissent as treason. Call protesters Marxists or anti-American because it's easier than addressing what they're actually saying. Mike Johnson calling these protests Hate America rallies? That's projection at its finest. What he really hates is accountability. He hates that citizens still have the audacity to push back. And for anyone wondering whether protesting actually matters, every major shift in American history came from people refusing to shut up. Civil rights, labor protections, women's suffrage. None of that happened because politicians suddenly grew a conscience. It happened because people made it too uncomfortable to ignore them. So yeah, standing outside with a sign might feel insignificant in the moment, but collective action creates pressure. Pressure forces response. That's not idealism. That's mechanics. That's how power actually works.
Every generation that's ever pushed this country closer to its ideals, civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights, they were all called un-American too. It is the same recycled fear tactic. Label dissent as hate so people stop questioning power. But loving your country does not mean blind loyalty to the people running it. Loving your country means holding it accountable when it forgets its promises. America, you're forgetting your promises. Because the truth is, it's a lot easier to call people Marxists than to admit that citizens are fed up of watching politicians act like kings, which they will not admit. That's why Mike Johnson calls it a Hate America protest and not a No Kings protest, because they know. So if defending democracy looks like protest to you, then good, because that means democracy is still alive. Saturday is not a Hate America protest. It is a we refuse to be fucking ruled protest. Because No Kings in America is the most fucking American thing that I've ever heard. So I can't wait to see how many of us show out on Saturday. I'll be there in Texas. Let's make it happen.
I have a genuine question that I cannot find an answer to. I went to a No Kings protest in the past, and it was great. It was awesome. Great sense of collective effervescence. But what does it actually do? What are we protesting? Are we just going out there with funny signs? What is the end goal? Like, what specifically, what are we doing here? Like, I have no idea.
You know what? This is the most honest question in this entire compilation, and it deserves an honest answer. Not platitudes, not vague inspiration, but actual strategy. Protests serve multiple purposes. First, they demonstrate scale. When millions show up, it proves dissent isn't fringe. Politicians pay attention to numbers because numbers represent votes. That's leverage. Second, they build infrastructure. You meet people, you organize, you create networks that last beyond one event. That's how single protests become sustained movements. Third, they force visibility. Media covers mass demonstrations. That shapes public discourse. It puts pressure on decision makers who'd rather operate in the dark. But here's the crucial part. Protests alone don't win. They're one tool in a larger strategy. If you show up once and disappear, limited impact. If you show up and then join a local organization, start canvassing, support aligned candidates, vote in every election, that compounds. The goal isn't to change everything in one day. The goal is to start momentum, to refuse silence, to make it politically costly to ignore you. Then you sustain it. That's when things actually shift.
What does that do? Help!
I know you guys probably heard, you've seen in my last post this Saturday, the 18th, No Kings protest. But I'm not worried, but I'm a little concerned because the timing of it, America has reached that boiling point, like discussed in other videos. But now you have to put in the equation that ICE and the military might be deployed in your city. So I want to say to all those people, who have the courage to come out, and speak their mind and protest, you got to be careful. They want to get enemies that, make them feel bad and butthurt about themselves, thrown in jail.
This isn't paranoia. This is pattern recognition. Look at how law enforcement has handled protests over the past 5 years. Tear gas, kettling, mass arrests, aggressive tactics that seem designed to intimidate more than protect. And now with ICE potentially deployed at demonstrations, that escalates the risk significantly. So if you're planning to show up, be strategic. Don't bring anything that could be misinterpreted as a weapon. Stay in groups. Know your legal rights. Have a legal hotline number saved. Don't sign up for protests with your real information on sketchy websites. And yes, face coverings are smart, not because you're hiding criminal activity, but because facial recognition technology is real, and governments absolutely track dissenters. That's not conspiracy. That's documented fact. This isn't about being scared. This is about being prepared. Authorities intimidate because mass movements work. They wouldn't bother threatening arrest if protests were meaningless. The intimidation is proof of effectiveness. So take precautions, but don't let fear paralyze you. Your safety matters. So does your democracy. Balance both.
I hope all of you are attending a No Kings rally near you this Saturday, October 18th. This is such a crucial thing, and I'll tell you why. The last No Kings rally was a huge success. It made Washington sit up and take notice. They're nervous. They're even more nervous about this one. They're filling their diapers. But let me tell you something. Don't be complacent and don't sit back and just secretly go, well, I'll just let the other people go. Boy, the last time I was out in the sun and I got tired. This is our last hope. These rallies have to be huge. We have to sustain the pressure on Washington. Because if we don't, you're going to wake up one morning and all this stuff you haven't been paying attention to is going to go into effect. Our voting rights, everything, all of our rights. And you're going to start calling your friends up going, oh my God, what's happening? Can you believe this? What do we do? What are we going to do? Don't let that happen. Keep the pressure up.
Listen carefully, because this is how democracies die. Not overnight, not with tanks in the streets. Slowly. One normalized abuse at a time. One dismissed norm at a time. One you're overreacting at a time. The people who say, it can't happen here, they're the ones who enable it. Because by the time it's undeniable, it's already too late to stop. Sustained pressure is the only thing that protects democratic systems. Not one big protest. Consistent, visible, relentless opposition. That's what keeps politicians accountable. That's what prevents slow-motion authoritarianism. And to everyone thinking other people will handle it, no, they won't. Because everyone else is thinking the same thing. That's called diffusion of responsibility. And it's how movements collapse before they even start. Your one body in a crowd matters. Not because you're special, but because you're one of thousands thinking they don't matter. When all those ones show up, that's when things shift. So if you care about any issue, voting rights, healthcare, civil liberties, literally anything, this is where you prove it. Not online, in person, with your actual physical presence.
When you see me, and not just me, everybody, zillions of people online, on social media, in the news, saying, we need to fight, we need to push back. This is not a joke. It's getting so serious out there. If you haven't really been paying attention, just scan the news online and see what has been happening and see what's going to happen. Go to your No Kings rallies this weekend. Do not let up. We're in trouble.
Are you going to one of the No Kings rallies this weekend? We want to show the Trump administration that New Hampshire won't back down. These protests that have been going on all year long are some of the largest political events that New Hampshire has seen in years. So tag us in your No Kings Day posts and we'll repost it. Or DM us on Instagram at GranitePostNH to be included in our No Kings Day posts. Be safe this weekend and we'll catch you there.
We are trying to save democracy. We love this country. That's why we're fighting so hard to save it.
That was Chrissy Kenny. She is one of the organizers for the No Kings protests happening this weekend. And according to the No Kings website, they're expecting about 25,000 protests happening both nationally and internationally. And Republican lawmakers are already starting to respond to these. Mike Johnson saying that these protesters are mostly Antifa and they're paid. And
the paid protesters conspiracy. Right on schedule. Let's be extremely clear. Nobody's getting paid to stand in the heat for hours holding a sign. That's not happening. You know what is happening? Actual dark money funding AstroTurf campaigns and lobbying efforts. But somehow that never gets called out. This is textbook projection. When you can't argue against the message, attack the messengers. They're paid. They're outside agitators. They're extremists. It's the exact same playbook from the 1960s when civil rights activists were called communists. Notice the pattern? It's never maybe millions of people have legitimate concerns. That's never the conclusion. It's always, they must be manipulated or funded by shadowy forces. Because admitting that regular citizens are genuinely fed up would require admitting there's a problem. And authoritarians don't admit problems. They attack the people pointing them out. So when you hear paid protesters, translate that to, we can't fathom people caring this much unless someone bribed them, which reveals way more about the accusers than it does about the protesters.
And we have some local lawmakers as well saying that these protests really don't hold any merit. Tim Scott today during a virtual interview saying that these protests are happening during the government shutdown and the Democrats will not open up the... Now, according to Kennedy, there hasn't been any violence at any of these protests so far, at least here in the state, and they're hoping to keep it that way this Saturday.
Well, in case you are not aware, there is another No Kings protest across the country planned for this upcoming Saturday, October 18th. And if you plan to be in attendance, there are a couple things you should know. Number one, the Trump administration is circulating this idea that the No Kings protest is going to be a hotbed of Antifa activity. Antifa, if you don't know, stands for anti-fascist, and the Trump administration has designated them a terrorist organization. There's only one problem with that, though. Antifa is not a group, it's not a club, it has no members or membership. It's an ideology. You know what is a group, though? The KKK, the Klan, the Proud Boys, Turning Point USA, the Groypers, they're a group. But anyway, I digress. The fact that the Trump administration is going out of their way to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization, despite not being an organization at all, should tell you that they're using it as an umbrella term to harass and detain anyone they don't agree with. And the fact that the administration, like I said before, is trying to circulate this idea that the protest is going to be a hotbed for Antifa activity should let you know exactly the kind of timing they on. So if you're going to attend, here's some things you should probably do. Number one, do not bring your phone or any electronic device that can be tracked. No iPhone, no Fitbit, no Samsung, no Android, no Pixel, no Apple Watch, nothing. You're finna be out there like it's 1995. Don't bring nothing with you. If you absolutely must have it on your person, you are going to go on Amazon.com and buy what is known as a Faraday pouch. This is going to be a bag that you can carry with you, small bag, that will block any incoming and outgoing signals from any devices placed inside of it. Makes it that much harder to track. Second thing you're gonna do, right? If you're gonna be out there, do not be out there plain face. No, we all have disdain for these YNs, but they had the right idea with these shiesties. You're gonna get a shiesty and mask the fuck up. You feel what I'm saying to you? The name of the game here, right, is to restrict all the different ways you can be tracked simply by being present. Because trust me when I say they will be tracking you. I also saw a video from Corn Pop about 2 hours ago talking about how they're going to be at this protest across the country doing retinal scans from afar. So go ahead, throw some glasses in there also. Again, the name of the game is to restrict all the different ways you can be identified from afar simply by being present at a protest you have every right to be at. Don't give these people any ammunition to hem you up. And last but not least, if you're going to go to this protest, keep your head on a fucking swivel, all right? There's going to be agitators. This ICE is going to be present. I guarantee it. Do not tangle with these folks. Dip out at the first sign of trouble. I'm trying to tell you, because they're trying to use any and every incident that might pop off at any one of these protests across the country as justification to unleash the hounds, all right? So don't give them any reasons. Don't bring your phone. If you have to, bring a Faraday pouch, mask up, put the glasses on, and be safe. All right, take care.
Y'all, please, if y'all want to make it back home to y'all families, come October the 18th, that No Kings March, do not take y'all ass out there. 92% come to the front. Do not take y'all ass out there. Them ICE agents, that Proud Boy shit, that MAGA shit. If y'all have y'all ass out there marching, ain't no guarantee y'all gonna make it home back to your loved ones. Stand down, my Black Americans. Do not go to that march on the 18th. Period. That is not for us.
This weekend, the biggest No Kings rally yet is about to take over Washington, D.C. Organizers tell us that they're expecting over 100,000 people at this No Kings rally, making it one of the largest in the entire country. The march starts at 10:30 a.m. from the Smithsonian Metro Station, and then the main rally runs from noon to 2 p.m. on the National Mall. So this is all part of a second nationwide wave of protests against President Donald Trump and his administration. You might remember the first No Kings Day. That was back in June. That saw 4 to 6 million people nationwide. Keep in mind, we're going to see major road closures across downtown DC, so be sure to check out those routes before you head down. You might have noticed this, but the Secret Service has already started putting up fencing all around the White House on Wednesday night, trying to get ready for the crowds. Meanwhile, some Republicans are calling the rallies anti-American, even labeling them as hate America protests. Organizers say their message is simple: no kings, not in DC, not in America. Drop me a comment if you're heading to the rally, or let me know what you think about all this in the comments below.
We've got some breaking news right now. The organizers behind No Kings Day 2.0 now say that they expect Saturday's protest to be the largest protest in U.S. history. If the numbers are met, that would be historic, to say the least. There were about 5 million people who marched on June 14th during No Kings Day 1.0. That's an official conservative estimate. There are some estimates that are more, but that's a conservative one. To beat the largest protest in American history this Saturday, we would have to see more than 20 million people show up on the streets in the United States of America. That was the Earth Day protest back in the 70s. That was the largest in American history. That is also rivaled by the George Floyd protest, which some estimates say up to 26 million, some say 15 million. It's a bit in flux. So to really get to that number one spot, No Kings Day 2.0 needs 20 million plus. We'll see if they get there, but shaping up to be a big day. So spread the word, subscribe to support my work at the link in my bio, and follow along for more.
The No Kings protest is going to be way larger than anticipated right now. So much so that Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, has activated their National Guard to have them ready to deploy should they be needed for tomorrow's protests. Texas is deploying their National Guard to Austin ahead of the No Kings protest. Guys, this protest is projected to be larger than 26 million people, set to break records. And since Trump, Caroline Leavitt, and Mike Johnson have started attacking the protest and calling it Hate America rally, RSVPs have more than doubled to this event. All those black dots are No Kings events planned for tomorrow, Saturday, October 18th. And those are just official ones reported on nokings.org. There are more happening than what are listed on here. And look at this. It goes to Hawaii, Alaska. It is global. Europe is even joining in with these protests. As we take a closer look, you can see there are hundreds and hundreds of No Kings protests planned just in the United States alone tomorrow. So guys, this is going to be huge. But this is going to have both Republicans, Democrats, independents, people of all sorts of backgrounds and political views coming out because they believe in America. I just went to nokings.org, and you can go there too to find an event near you. But I just learned that the one that's being planned in the city I live in is not even listed here. And there's a ton of people that are going to show up to that. So that's just showing that the numbers with the RSVPs are being way underreported. And I myself haven't even RSVP'd officially to mine, and I'm sure there's thousands, if not millions, of other Americans that have also not done the same thing. And my friends, that's what's got Trump and the Republicans shaking in their boots right now.
So here's the real question. Are they actually scared? Or is this wishful thinking? Both. And neither. Mass protests create political pressure, that's undeniable. When millions show up, it complicates the narrative. It makes ignoring public opinion harder. If that pressure sustains and translates into electoral consequences, then yes, politicians worry. But one day of protest doesn't topple power structures. It starts conversations. It builds networks. It lays groundwork. The question is, what happens the day after, and the week after, and the month after? If these protesters go home and never vote, never organize, never follow through, then no, leadership isn't worried. they'll wait it out. But if this catalyzes sustained organizing, if local races start flipping, if primary challengers emerge from these crowds, if voter registration spikes, that's when establishment politicians actually lose sleep. So the answer depends entirely on persistence. Hope without action is just coping. Action without follow-through is just performance. But sustained, strategic, organized action, that changes things. That's the part worth paying attention to.
Comment what you guys think about this. Like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Massive No Kings protests are scheduled for tomorrow, October 18th. If you're going to protest, and you really should, please stay safe. Do not sign up for your protest, even if there's online signups by the hosts. You don't want your name on that list. Mask your identity. Wear a mask like ones we had for COVID, or those fantastic blow-up animal costumes from Spirit Halloween. They both hide your identity and communicate that you're non-violent. It's pacifistic. There have also been videos showing that those blow-up animal costumes do protect activists from gas. Stay hydrated and be loud. Protest within designated zones. If you live in South Jersey like me, there are 3 No Kings protests within driving distance, and I will link them at the end of this video. There is one in Philadelphia, one in Haddon Township, and one in Pine Hill. You may think these precautions are unnecessary, but we are protesting for a reason. Protect yourself.
Another thing to do in Denver this weekend on October 18th is the No Kings protest. I didn't know about it, so thank you for everyone bringing it attention. I unfortunately cannot make it, or else I probably would be there, but it's happening in over 2,500 cities around America because fascism is not what America is about. So definitely go out and get to protesting.
Okay, I'm hoping to go to the No Kings protest tomorrow. I do have a jam-packed day, but I'm really hoping to make it out and be a part of history. I have a couple sign ideas. One is in George Washington's farewell address, he said, "Guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism," which basically means be skeptical of anybody who uses their love for their country to like manipulate public opinion, serve their own interests, stamp out any sort of dissent against the government. Like, so applicable to right now. Second quote idea is a Thomas Paine quote. "The world is my country, all mankind are my brethren, and to do good is my religion." I love that quote, and I feel like the Enlightenment era, we need to bring that back. And the third would just be like Father Figure by Taylor Swift, Tyrant version instead of Taylor's version. And it would be like, whose portrait's on the mantle? 20, or I heard now it's possibly $40 billion that we're giving to Argentina. Then I would remix that last verse and be like, not part of the oligarchy, find your funds canceled. And then headlines about how he has cut all the funding for like the National Institute of Health and cancer research and women's health research and the infrastructure projects and the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and pretty much every other thing that was supposed to propel American society forward. Let me know what you think. And just remember, if you're losing hope, 77 million people voted for him, 75 million people voted for Kamala, and like 90 million people just didn't vote at all. And of his voters, I think at least 30% of them said that they regret their vote, which means that if you look at the number of eligible voters in America, about 20% actually support this dude. That gives me hope.
Those numbers matter more than people realize. 77 million voted one way, 75 million the other, 90 million didn't vote at all, and 30% of voters already expressing regret. What does that tell you? That democracy isn't dead, it's dormant. The people who could shift everything are sitting at home, and those in power, they're banking on that. Low turnout always benefits extremism. When only the diehards vote, fringe positions win. When everyone participates, moderation holds. Anyone feeling hopeless should understand. That's exactly the goal. Hopeless people don't organize. They don't register voters. They don't show up. They check out. And that's when systems collapse. But here's reality. Most people don't want authoritarianism. They're just overwhelmed, cynical, exhausted. The system makes engagement deliberately difficult. That's by design. This is why movements matter. They re-engage checked-out citizens. They remind people that individual actions compound into collective power. So yes, go to protests, but also register voters, volunteer for local campaigns, support candidates who reflect these values, because protesting without voting is just venting. Combining both, that's strategy.
Bad bitches go to No Kings protests. Bad bitches get out there on the streets and protest for their fucking rights and for the people who cannot fucking protest. No Kings is for bad bitches only. I'm sorry that I don't make the rule, but I will be going out tomorrow. I'm still debating which city I'm gonna be in because I am in Southern California, so they're literally everywhere. I'm still trying to figure out which one I'm gonna go to. My cousin called me earlier and said that he wanted to join us, so I feel like if I choose a city kind of in between the both of us, then we'll be able to do that, no problem. I'm also so incredibly proud of my cousin because he is part of a very MAGA family, and he is, poor baby, he's the blue sheep of the family. So I'm very, very proud of you, bud, and I'm so happy that you want to go out protesting with us tomorrow. And I am so proud of anybody who is going out there. I'm proud of you for going to any protest. If you can't make it to No Kings specifically, if you are out there, you are protesting, if you are constantly advocating for other people who cannot advocate for themselves, you are a bad bitch, and I love you so, so much. And if you're looking for a protest that is near you, I have a link in my bio telling you exactly where those are going to be. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Major news right now ahead of No Kings Day 2.0 this week, and organizers are expecting this to be one of the largest protests in American history, and folks around the White House and Republicans on Capitol Hill, where they're getting more nervous because we're now expecting over 10 million people, according to organizers, to show up across the world. More than 2,000 protests have been planned in every single state around the United States.
Oh my gosh, guys. No Kings Day 2.0. Apparently the Trump administration is scared. Do you really believe that for a second? Because I don't. I don't believe that at all. Why would they be scared? If anything, we're all just going to be laughing at you just like we did on the first one that you guys did. Because Donald Trump is still going to be your president the very next day. 10 million people? You're seriously telling me that we have 10 million idiots in our country that are going to protest for No Kings Day 2.0? Well, good thing we don't have any kings here. Where's the kings? Where's the kings? I don't see any. This is America. Where's the kings? Oh my gosh. These people are so hilarious. Like, I seriously wonder what people think from the outside with the liberal reality show that they have in America. Like, wow. We share air with this much stupidity. The Trump administration is scared, guys. Apparently the Trump administration is scared. I don't. What are we scared about? Can someone explain this? Like, what should we be scared about? What do you guys think you're gonna achieve? What's the end goal here?
And here we arrive at peak desperation, mocking millions of your fellow citizens for exercising constitutional rights. Where's the kings, he asks, like it's some brilliant gotcha. The entire point is preventing one from emerging. That's called being proactive. That's called defending norms before they fully erode. And the nothing will change the next day argument? No kidding. That's not how this works. The point is creating political cost for overreach. The point is demonstrating that unchecked power has opposition. The point is organizing for sustained resistance. But watch what's really happening here. He's terrified, not of the protesters, of being wrong, of being on the side that history judges harshly. So he mocks, deflects, belittles. Every significant movement in history had people like this. People who laughed at suffragettes, who mocked lunch counter sit-ins, who called civil rights marchers idiots. Where are they now? Embarrassed footnotes in history books. So when your grandkids ask what you did when democracy was tested, what's your answer? That you stood up, or that you mocked the people who did? Because those are the only two options. Choose carefully.